We had a jam-packed day at Eagles OTAs. Lots to overreact to. Did the Phillies win? Spoiler alert. No, they did not. We're going to talk about it, what happened last night, and what the future holds for this Phillies team. And join me at 8:30 a.m. coming to you all the way from the cheap seats, Jason Ashworth. Can't wait to have him on as a guest and talk a little Phillies and Eagles with him. Guys, trending in the AM, one day away from the U.S. Open beginning. We're live, taking all your thoughts and opinions in 30 seconds. And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on the STT Sports Network. We are live, YouTube and Twitter. Guys, only free thing you'll do today, hit that like button, hit that share button, subscribe. Hell, share it out on social media, turn the notifications on. Hitting all the buttons that you can hit, it's the only free thing to do. So like, share, subscribe. We're starting today's show at 535 subscribers. The slow grind and march to 1,000 is on, guys. So continue to hit those buttons. That goal is 1,000 by kickoff for the first week, first game, Eagles. So, guys, help me out there. I'd greatly appreciate it. We also got a poll going over on the YouTube page. Will Alex Hunt lead the Eagles in sacks in 2025? Yes, no, but a close second. Make sure you vote on our poll as well, guys. We got lots to talk about today. Lots of information coming out of OTAs yesterday. Lots of information. Lots of things to overreact to. So we're going to dive into some of those. One centered around Alex Hunt. So we're going to talk about him a lot today. A lot of the other things that came out of camp yesterday. And the Phillies lost a frustrating game last night, 8-4 to the Chicago Cubs. Mick Abel did not have his top stuff last night. The offense couldn't put enough runs on the board, and the bullpen obviously did what the bullpen did. It does, and gives up 5 runs last night, and the Phillies lose 8-4. Frustrating. And I got to say, and we'll start with the Phillies, and just like I said, stay tuned, 8:30, Jason Ashworth. Love Jason Ashworth. Been all around, done TV, done radio. Now doing a podcast called The Cheap Sheets over on All City Philly channel. So stay tuned to that at 8:30. The Phillies are really frustrating to me right now. We're going to talk plenty of Eagles, obviously. But I'm really frustrated, not with the players, not with Rob Thompson, but with Dave Dombrowski. What in the blue hell is Dave Dombrowski doing and waiting for to address this bullpen? How much longer is he going to make us suffer through the Rosses of the world, the Hernandezes of the world, the Walkers of the world, the Banks of the world, the Romanos of the world on a regular basis? Like, this bullpen has been the worst bullpen in baseball. Worst bullpen I can remember in my lifetime in a long time for the Phillies. And yet he continues to drag his feet in making moves to fix it. And I'm not sure what he is waiting for. And it's extremely frustrating that he's wasting time. Now, there's an argument to be made that it costs more to make trades now than at the trade deadline. I'd argue it costs just as much. There's always going to be a plethora of people that need bullpen on. So let's just make the moves now. There's got to be a move, at least one or two out. David Robertson's still sitting out there. I'm not huge on the idea of bringing in an older closer or older reliever, but there are options out there. Yet we continue to trot the same thing out there day in and day out. We still have Weston Wilson on this roster. Like, what is he waiting for to make some kind of improvement to this team? Guys, so that's what we're going to start with. We're going to talk Eagles as well. Let's get right in the comments. Good morning, Duck. Yes, the Eagles are in a youth movement. No, the Phillies are not in a youth movement. Sixers are a mess. Yeah, and can't decide. Yeah, and the Flyers, who the hell knows? Good morning, Adam. How you doing? Good to see you, my man. The answer is Carter. Carter will have the most sacks. Jalen Carter, the most sacks on the Eagles? I don't know. Not often does a defensive tackle do, but that would be pretty interesting. It's going to be a battle between Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Alex Hunt, who, I put Alex Hunt in the poll today because out of all the reading I did and following the beat reporters from OTA mandatory camp yesterday, I think I saw Jalen Hunt's name pretty much the most outside of Jalen Hurts' name. It's kind of crazy. Like every tweet about the defense was Jalen Hunt this, Jalen Hunt that. Had a really good practice yesterday. Frustrating Jordan Mailata beyond belief. But I think they're your top three guys right now. 2012. I mean, it was a bad time too. Good morning, Little G. How you doing? Absolutely worst bullpen, Big Al says. No confidence. Yeah, like, what is Dave Dombrowski waiting for? Like, I want to criticize Rob Thompson. Everybody knows I hate Rob Thompson. I don't. But I can't blame him for who he's got to trot out there when his starter can't get through 5 innings. I can't get through 9 innings. I can't fault Rob Thompson for having to go to Ross or Romano or Hernandez or Walker. I can't. That's who he's got. He's got guys out there. He can only pitch so many guys, so many innings. And he's just got to use them. You got to give the tools to the employee so they can succeed. Rob Thompson with the bullpen is being set up for failure. And I don't get what Davey Boy is waiting for. It's not pleasant. It's not pleasant watching a Phillies game. I saw the Phillies last night take, 3-2 lead? Yeah, they were up 3-2 in the 4th inning. I turned it on, and I think it was they were up. They took a 4-3 lead. 4-3 lead after the 5th inning. And the 6th inning starts with Taijuan Walker on the mound. And there was literally zero confidence that they were going to hold that lead. I knew it was just a matter of time before I taking a 4-3 lead. Like, that's not enough runs to win this game for the Phillies. But we're already into the bullpen. I didn't need to watch the game to know. I did. I suffered through it, but I didn't need to. Went to Reading game. Forget Justin Crawford, not easily, really. Carson D. Martini and Keaton Allen are like that. I have some hope for the future, but it's on the GM now. Shit's getting real. Phillies are 2-10 in their last 12 games. It's not good. And Justin Crawford, obviously, he's got a quad issue, maybe a personal issue, like you mentioned as well, Noobs. So maybe that's why they're not bringing him up yet. I'm, never rooting for an injury, but Brandon Marsh got hurt and was removed from the game. I'm hoping that's the cue that if Crawford's ready to go, he gets called up. If Marsh goes on the injured list. Yeah, sure, there's hope in the future, in the pipeline for 3-5 years from now. But this Phillies team is supposed to be in a win-now mode. And they're not acting like it. Starting with the GM. Dallas Week is always toxic sports radio at its best. What does that have to do with, you're talking about Little G. Exactly. Kick their butts. Look, we got a poll going. We're up to 7 votes on the poll. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and, of course, voting on the poll. Will Alex Hunt lead the Eagles in sacks? I don't know what Dave Dombrowski's waiting for, why he's waiting. Is it, like I've said this week countless times, that he doesn't feel the pressure that we feel he should be under? Does he think it will all just work out? Like the uber positive Phillies fans, look, we got lots of talent. We're going to make the playoffs. We'll see how it plays out. But I cannot fault Rob Thompson for last night's 8-4 loss. Mick Abel in his 3rd career start only went 4 innings. He had about 90 pitches last night. He was not sharp. Walked 3 batters last night in 4 innings. So you had to go to your bullpen early. Young pitcher like Mick Abel, what's he, 23? Yeah, he's going to have hiccups like that early in his career. I haven't lost faith in Mick Abel. But when you have to go to your bullpen after 4 innings and you have what you have available, what are you supposed to do? We can't pretend to ignore the very nature of relief pitchers. They're volatile. Cottom has to figure it out as he has done in the past. Well, I mean, yes, but also it's not like there's that many talented guys that could figure it out or be pushed over the top to be better. There are a lot of guys in that bullpen that don't belong on a major league roster at all at this point. So you can't make shit taste good. Morning, Steven. How you doing? Yet another night where the offense shuts it down for a majority of the game. And we get to witness bad at-bat after bad at-bat. Yeah, what happened to all the small ball from the game before? And yes, it's U.S. Open starts tomorrow. Tomorrow's show, while we'll be talking Phillies and Eagles, we'll be live streaming the U.S. Open from 8 to 9:30 as well. And going hit stroke by stroke, swing by swing. Can't wait. Can't wait. And guys, make sure you check out Fairway to Heaven last night. Probably one of the highest viewed golf shows we've ever done last night. It was a lot of fun. And let me shout out and applaud again Jason for picking up on my random rounders reference in the middle of the show. You guys don't pick up on many of my references. It was a big test for Mick Abel last night. Yeah, it was. And I don't want to say he failed that test. Now, I didn't watch that portion. I was doing the golf show during Abel's performance. But I asked questions online, and I was told what happened. He didn't have his best stuff. He struggled. It was the biggest moment so far. Now, I'm not going to go out there and say I've lost confidence in Mick Abel after one subpar performance. He was never going to pitch like he did the first 2 games, forever. He was going to have some speed bumps. I think the bigger test for Mick Abel is how he rebounds from that in his next start. All this confidence built up. Can he rebound from it? That's the big question, in my opinion. Rob Thompson doesn't care because the last few years was check cashing. He was literally going to retire. Absolutely. And we've been over this countless times. Someone asked at the end of the show, and I almost made it the poll question today. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. We've always talked, if Howie Roseman was ever fired, he'd be signed before the ink's dry on his termination papers. If Rob Thompson was fired and he wanted to coach again, because we know he didn't want to coach anymore. If Rob Thompson was fired, would any other team instantly hire Rob Thompson? And I don't know if it's for sure, yes. Nola out longer. Yes, I wrote it down. A stress reaction in his right rib cage. Not going to throw for at least 2 weeks. You're looking at least 6 more weeks, maybe 8 more weeks without Aaron Nola. I don't even know what a stress reaction in a rib cage is. Like, I don't know. Never heard of a stress reaction in a rib cage. So Mick Abel's going to be up here for a little while longer. Along with Nola, Andrew Painter got roughed up last night. He gave up 4 or 5 runs. His ERA is now north of 5. So maybe Andrew Painter ain't going to be the answer for this team either. Maybe we don't have this super deep elite starting rotation anymore. I think tonight is Luzardo. I think that'll be a big test to see how Luzardo does tonight. Mileage, dumb contract, that's Aaron Nola, yeah. If Thompson was fired, he would retire. He would. But say he wouldn't retire. Say he wanted another chance. You think somebody else would hire him? I don't know. They were up 1 versus one of the best teams in the league and then used Banks, Walker, Ross Hernandez because they had to. Because there's no other move. Yeah, look. Yeah, like I don't blame Rob Thompson, Steven, for this. Like, what's he supposed to do? That's who was available. You knew that wasn't going to hold that 4-3 lead. I didn't have to know it was going to be that order, Banks, Walker, Ross, Hernandez. I knew it wasn't going to work out. There was no chance it was going to hold. That's not on Rob Thompson. That's on Dave Dombrowski, who is still sitting on his hands. He would get a job if Coconut Oil got a job. That's true. That's true. That's true. If Leopard Print Undies gets a job, he would. Stress reaction is one step away from a stress fracture. It's not exactly what Trout had, but it's not far away. So a stress reaction is an almost fracture. Gotcha. I still don't know. But, similar to what the Anthony Melton had in his back. Well, that's, all right. So that lingered for a long time with the Anthony Melton, didn't it? It was constantly in and out of the lineup with that. Interesting way to phrase it. I forgot all about the Anthony Melton. I was so high on the Anthony Melton, and that didn't work out. He didn't last here a long time. Sucks. Really liked that kid. Really thought he had potential. I don't even know if he stayed healthy this year or not. Forget where he played, but I don't think he stayed healthy this year. But anyway, what is Dave Dombrowski waiting for? What does he need to? Today's a 1:30 game today. I like that. I like a good old-fashioned 1:30 game on a Wednesday. Do they still call them business person specials? Yes, Jesus Luzardo goes tonight. That's right, today. Versus Ben Brown, who's got a 5.37 ERA. Do they still call them business person specials? I used to love cutting class in college and going to a BPS. It was always a good time. Usually treat it with rest and PT, but the rib, it is a little bit of a different animal. Anything with the ribs is a little different for sure. Yeah, I don't know. Starting pitching, I mean, you still got Zach Wheeler as dominant as ever. Jesus Luzardo's been struggling. Christopher Sanchez has probably been our most consistent pitcher at this point. Ranger Suarez and Mick Abel. That's what you got. And Andrew Painter, I don't know if you can consider bringing Andrew Painter up yet. I mean, everyone expected so much from Andrew Painter, but Andrew Painter was pitching for the first time after Tommy John surgery this year. Normally, a lot of guys take a little bit of time before they're back to their normal self and then better after Tommy John. They don't just come out and start firing, and he's a young pitcher anyway. There might be an argument made that Andrew Painter needs the full year in the minors to protect him for next year. A stress fracture in the rib cage would explain the drop in speed. He doesn't have a stress fracture, a stress reaction, which according to Nooms is just below that. Melton on the Nets had a torn ACL last year. Oh, okay. I thought he got hurt. So it wasn't his back this year, at least. I always was a fan of him. Good morning, Adam. Painter got his tits lit a little last night. That's an interesting way to put it, Nooms, for sure. His tits got lit last night. Yeah. Wasn't himself. And he's had a few outings this year that he's struggled. Because I know that for a simple fact that people tweet at me that Andrew Painter's a bust already. And they tell me that all the time. Like, yo, patience. Dude just had Tommy John surgery. But if this team is not a true contender, what's the point of bringing him up this year? Outside of a little experience. I don't know if it's necessary. You give him. I was thinking how he was pitching twice this week, first time on regular rest in his career, that you might see him in 2 to 3 weeks. But at this point, he might need much more time to get ready. We're just going to have to wait and see. And despite him not being ready, Aaron Nola being hurt, Luzardo's struggles, our starting pitching is still the strength of this team and gives me the most confidence. The problem is when nights like last night happen, when your starter can't get deep into a game and your offense doesn't give you a multi-run lead late in the game, there is no confidence. But yet Dave Dombrowski continues to sit on his hands and wait. What's up, Marshawn? Good morning to you. No, the Phillies did not win last night. Big surprise. Make sure you vote on the poll, too. Will Alex Hunt lead the Eagles in sacks? in 2025? Real quick, we got about 5-10 minutes till our guest joins us. I do want to talk a little Eagles, too, before he gets here. All the names I wrote down, all the beat reporters tweeting out from practice yesterday, all the things I wrote down, all the names I wrote down. Jalen Hunt, I think I saw his name more than anybody not named Jalen Hurts or Nick Sirianni in tweets. Jalen Hunt made Jordan Mailata walk off the field during 7-on-7 or 11-on-11 drills and say, what the F just happened to me? Because of the way Jalen Hunt was eating him alive out there yesterday. Supposedly, based off of the 3 practices that media have been allowed to be at in OTAs, Jalen Hunt might be one of the most impressive Eagles so far this offseason. When Melton was here, he had a stress reaction in 23, I think it was. Yeah, and it lingered for a long, long time. They lost even when the offense gave them the lead twice, exactly. Do you think Hunt is more productive than Nolan? I think Hunt has the potential to be more productive than Nolan. I don't know. I think Jalen Hunt is the better pure athlete. I mean, let's not forget, Jalen Hunt was a safety 2 years before entering the NFL. The guy is an athlete. So I think Jalen Hunt's ceiling is also potentially higher than Nolan Smith. But is he more productive, or will he be in 2025? I don't know the answer to that yet. I don't even know why I watch it like I am a massive. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know why I watch it either. Oh, my God. I love you, too. Good morning. Good morning, Eric. You're back, baby. Hunt wants his money. Well, Nolan's going to get paid first. Hunt's still a ways away from getting paid. But, yes, Hunt wants his money. Everybody wants their money. I want my money. The gatekeeper is back. Glad to have you. I think Hunt is more like Trent Cole. Maybe. Trent Cole's one of the all-time sack getters in Eagles history, isn't he? So maybe. I just find it interesting. Just thought of something else to write down. Lean. That when Jordan Mailata, who is put on PFF's list, and we take PFF like it is, a grain of salt. But when PFF makes Jordan Mailata the best tackle in football entering this season, and second-year player Jalen Hunt knocked him on his ass so much in practice that he has to walk off the field like, what the F just happened to me? Having no clue how Hunt just dominated him. Hunt and the rookie can be more athletic bonds. Now, I don't know if Hunt's going to be anywhere in the middle of the field like Zach Bond. But Jalen Hunt is an athlete. Plain and simple. Peanut, what's up, my man? Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Hunt another Fangio guy? Yes, Jalen Hunt was a Fangio guy. You got to remember, all the guys impressing, all the guys taking next steps, all the guys that Fangio talks about, they're his guys. He'll go to bat for his guys for sure. Merely a flesh wound. I think Nolan is not just a sack guy, not a one-trick pony. Oh, I'm not saying that Nolan Smith is a one-trick pony. I think Nolan Smith will be the player that leads his team in sacks this year. I do. Now, Nolan Smith, I don't think people understand, is also recovering from an injury. He also tore his tricep in the Super Bowl, and a lot of people forget about that. He's wearing a brace. He's not hitting like nobody's hitting in practice right now in OTAs, but he's not making physical contact because he's not 100% yet. And I know Brandon Graham came back to play in the Super Bowl 2 months after tearing his tricep. But that was a one-off in the Super Bowl, and that's it. Nolan Smith is supposed to be here for the long term. Nolan Smith might have a slow start to camp and maybe a slow start to the season again as he recovers from that torn tricep. Hunt has Cole-like traits, but he's extremely unique. He's one of those dudes you dismiss when you look at him. I think a lot of people do dismiss. I think Jordan Mailata dismissed him when he lined up opposite of him in practice yesterday. Fellow Phil Luminati. Absolutely. Good morning, K1. I'm confident Nolan leads the team on impact plays. Is that a new stat? Are we going to see that on ProReferenceFootball.com? Impact plays. What's the definition of an impact play? A sack, a turnover, a play with a loss of a play with negative yards or a certain amount of yards maximum? We got to get a definition of what impact plays are for defensive players. I think this defense will be better than 22 defense and Legion of Boom. I think this defense has potential to be great. I think there are going to be hiccups with this defense early in the season. Jahad Campbell was going drills, but no contact. I wrote that down in my notes, Doc. It's very good to see Jahad running drills because the early voluntary practices, which he was at, he was there, but he was off to the side, not doing anything but stretching. This time he was running some drills, doing some footwork drills with other guys. Big step forward. Now, while Vic Fangio said he doesn't expect Campbell till August, Nick Sirianni yesterday said, we're just not putting a timetable on his return. Are there cracks in the coaching ranks? Call me at 215-94-94. Is Vic Fangio and Nick Sirianni problems already brewing? Call the station, 94-94. Yeah, exactly. But, yeah, it's great to see. Last night may have just broken even the most optimistic Phillies fans last night. Some very harsh and stark realizations. Yeah, look, it's okay to be honest about the Phillies. A lot of people think it's not. It means you lose your fan card. And when Jason Ashworth joins us shortly, he puts the things that we say about the Phillies in a very eloquent way, which I really appreciate. Nolan's speed is insane that he can set the edge without being the biggest guy. Nolan and Alex, they're both not the biggest guys. The guys that are injured is going to end up being a blessing in disguise later on the season when healthy and after the bye. Absolutely agree. What's up, Rising Rhino? How you doing this morning? Glad to see you. There are no cracks in the coaching rank. Stop. I was just kidding. I was just making a joke. There ain't no quote. There's no cracks. It was a joke. You know, it's kind of funny how there is no drama going on with this Phillies team. It's kind of refreshing that there is no drama. And guys, please hit that like button, hit that share button, hit the subscribe button, guys. Joining me now on the I Have No Sponsor hotline from the cheap seats, all the way in the back. Oh, man, you set the pun to introduce you too easy with that show name. From the cheap seat.
All the way in the back.
Good morning, my man.
Good morning, brother. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for taking some time out of your morning to come talk. Obviously, you came in here at the end while we're talking a little bit of Eagles. But I reached out to you because of the Phillies, and I want to start with the Phillies with you. Okay. Because you put the way I feel about this Phillies team so much more eloquently than I do when I'm talking about it. How we're allowed to be frustrated with this team because it's the same story. It doesn't mean we're not fans. It doesn't mean we're not cheering them on. But it's okay to say this story has played out before. And why hasn't anything changed?
Right, and that's what it is. That's all it is. I've always maintained it for year after year after year. It's an incredibly talented baseball team. We know that. You go up and down that roster. There's talent on the team. But as talented as they are even more inconsistent. And you're seeing that yet again this year. And if the Phillies are just going to run it back, if they're just going to trot out that same group, then why are we expecting any different results? So for me, it's not about I don't dislike the team. I love the Phillies. I grew up a Phillies fan. I'm a diehard Phillies fan. I mean, look right here. Yeah, I got the World Series, but I'm there. I went to World Series games. I've gone to playoff games. I support the team, but I don't let my support blind this idea that it's the same story, guys. We know what they're good at, and we know what they're not good at. We know where they thrive, and we know where they struggle. And throughout the course of a season, we know there's going to be waves, and we know there's going to be rides where we're riding that high. And we've seen that already this year, Phil. Mm-hmm. And now we're in those doldrums where, all right, can these dudes make the playoffs? Like, what is this? Losing 9 of 10. What is this? How am I supposed to believe that this team is any different than what we saw in 2023, any different than what we saw in 2024? And now here we are in 2025, and we're doing that head scratch again. And unfortunately, we have no choice but to just ride the wave. Just, hey, look, when September gets here, let's see what happens, because if they're not going to make any wholesale changes to the roster, then you're just rolling the dice and hoping they get hot at the right time.
Yep.
Hoping like a hope. That's not a plan. That's
you know how repetitive
it
is. Everyone knows, and everybody calls me a Rob Thompson hater because I've been criticizing him, for years. But I can't even put the blame on Rob Thompson. I put it on Dave Dombrowski because he's the one that continues to build these inconsistent teams. Mm-hmm. And we see the flaws. We know what the flaws are in this team, and you just said it. Will they even make the playoffs? What is Dave Dombrowski doing? Like, I can't blame last night's loss on Rob Thompson. He's only got those bullpen arms that he's got. Why not make some moves? I know the deadline's not for, another 7 weeks. But in 7 weeks, you might not be a 500 team anymore. Yeah. Why not get up out of your desk and make 1 or 2 moves, at least to the bullpen, to at least show the fan base that, look, we're trying to make some kind of an adjustment.
They're going to make the playoffs. All right.
Yeah,
so, we know that. So they're
going to win at least 90 games still this year.
Right. There could be, again, because they're a good baseball team. Mm-hmm. And throughout 162 games, they're going to win more games than they don't. But you and I think the reason we get frustrated isn't because we're worried about them winning 88 to 92 games and making the playoffs. Like, we want a World Series. I want a championship. And so I'm not worried about just that ship has sailed. The expectation is you make the playoffs. Get me to the NLCS, win the NLCS, get me to a World Series, win a World Series. Like, that's the goal. It's not just making the playoffs. So why hasn't Dombrowski made any moves? I think in part it's stubbornness, and we've seen that. He believes in his guys, and I get that. I couldn't tell you why he didn't make roster changes coming into the 2025 season, other than just he just steadfastly believes that in the right moments or at the right time, when this team is hitting and clicking in all cylinders, they're good enough to win a World Series. And they are, but you're just putting so much into, are they playing the right way at the right time? For me, and I don't think that they're built that way. I don't think once you get to quality opponents in September, October, that they haven't met the moment. So right. for Dave, and I get it, they don't have a ton of money to spend. They've got a lot of money wrapped up in Trey Turner. Got a lot of money wrapped up in Bryce Harper. We'll figure out what they do with Schwarber and Casty moving forward. But you're right. The time to make that move was the offseason. Was last year. There's no move. I'm saying this right now. There's no move that they can make at the deadline that is going to drastically change my opinion about this team, because we can talk about the bullpen. We all know the starting rotation is great. We can talk about the bullpen. This last run they went on, I'm not blaming the bullpen. They're putting up 1 run a game, 2 runs a game. It's the offense that's the problem. This team was built to hit. And when they don't hit, they don't win. And right now they're not hitting. So I can't blame that on the bullpen.
You mentioned one word, and it's something that a few of the regular listeners to the show bring up a lot. It was money. And the money they've got wrapped up in players. Now, John Middleton, on one hand, always talks, and he probably regrets ever saying the stupid money we're going to spend comment. He probably regrets that to this day.
Sure.
But, you look at the offseason moves that Dave Dombrowski made. Do you think John Middleton has finally put a cap? Like, he traded for Austin Hayes last year. Then this year brings in another Austin Hayes and Max Kepler. He kind of not cheaped out, but he didn't go for the bigger name. He went for the cheaper name, the 1 year prove it deal that Howie Roseman loves, with players.
Yeah.
Do you think Howie or Dave Dombrowski has been kind of told, like, look, you can't just get rid of Taijuan Walker. I'm not paying that. You can only spend X amount of money. If you're trading for somebody, it better not be somebody that's got a big contract. Do you think there's any little behind the doors conversations about that? Because there are people that say that on this show a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure to a degree that's true, right? I mean, whether you're a billionaire or not, you're a businessman first, right? And so it's got to be good business. I'm not interested in just throwing away money. So I'm sure there's still some level of frugalness involved, or at least wise spending. But more than that, honestly, I think Middleton gets involved when it's about, hey, let me woo this guy. That I got a guy that the entire market wants. Let me go get that guy, right? I'm not going to let 30 million here, 20 million there be the difference in me getting a Bryce Harper or not. That's where Middleton gets involved. Same with Trey Turner. But I think other than that, I don't think Middleton confuses himself into saying, hey, I'm a baseball guy. I know this or that about how to build and construct a roster. I can trust Dombrowski. And right, wrong, or indifferent, I think Dombrowski just hasn't put together that roster. I think there's some frugalness involved. I think that's fair and accurate. But that's with every baseball team. I mean, even the baseball teams that spend, they've got guys on their roster that they've identified and say, that guy can help my team. Sure, he's not going to cost me 20, 30 million a year, but that guy can help my team. If you look at the Phillies roster, they're so front-loaded with some of their contracts and guys, they're not getting any production. Like Dombrowski has not been able to. Max Kepler, sure, okay, he had a nice swing last night, gave him a lead, which then was relinquished the next inning. But like Max Kepler's doing the same thing that we've seen from other guys we've brought in. The lack of production, the hope and a prayer. If that guy hits, maybe we'll be okay. But the guy that they're identifying and targeting every single year to get value out of is coming up small. And when the top of the lineup comes up small and the bottom of the lineup comes up small, you're sitting here over these last 12 games scratching your head saying, what the hell are we looking at?
I mean, K1 says this is a depressing combo. It really is. Like, I kind of feel like it's a repetitive cycle. You know, we had the same kind of depressing conversation about the Sixers, and the Sixers season ends, and then we have the same one with the Phillies. You know, we keep thinking the Sixers are going to get out of the second round. We keep thinking the Phillies are going to get a World Series, but nothing changes. It's just a constant revolving, cycle of this point. I put out a question out on Twitter or on the show months ago. Are the Phillies closer to being that Doc Rivers, Daryl Morey type, Sixers team, or are they closer to being a Howie Roseman-led Super Bowl Eagles team? And I know the talent says they should be closer to the Eagles, but I kind of always feel like they're more like that, scheduled loss mentality of the Sixers that it'll all just be fine. Don't worry about it.
Again, it's about the same with the Sixers, and it is a depressing conversation. So it is, right? But I mean, this is what we do. We look season by season by season, and we've had, because I remember back in it was whenever we were building the Sixers, and we started doing that outlook of, well, the Sixers should win a championship by this, and the Phillies should win a championship by then, and the Eagles can win a champ. We were mapping out the course of the Big Four in Philadelphia, saying who's going to get a championship first. And the reality is only the Eagles have taken their lumps, which they have, and
Absolutely.
course corrected, right? Howie Roseman's done a phenomenal job at course correcting and learning from his mistakes. Have the Sixers learned from their mistakes, or do they keep running it back? And when they do run it back or make changes, they just kind of double down on a mistake or just make a mistake in a different direction. The Phillies are kind of following that Sixers mold where, hey, we're just going to run it back. Nah, guy, no wholesale change is coming. Our stars are who they are. Our team is who they are. We're just going to run it back and hope and pray the next season. So I think the Sixers and Phillies are eerily similar, unfortunately, and that's what makes it a depressing conversation because we're sitting there. You see it. I see it. Sometimes I think we overthink these things. Mm-hmm. It's sports. And I know there is a very complex and intricate nature to some of the goings on in sport. It's sports. Like, you can watch, you can see what plays, what doesn't play, who's a ball player, who's not, what's going to work in the postseason, what's not. And unfortunately for both of those teams, the mistakes they're making aren't that hard to decipher.
Absolutely. Look, it's not going to happen. Or I should say it probably won't happen.
What's that?
But we saw in 2022 that they were obviously struggling, the Phillies, under Joe Girardi. They relieved him, and that lit a spark, that carried us to the World Series. Now, obviously, they're not going to fire Rob Thompson. But is there that kind of a spark, whether it's a firing of Rob Thompson? Kevin Long seems to be the hitting coach, always gets the blame when the offense doesn't hit. Is there any kind of spark? Trading a starter off the team, I don't know where. Is there any kind of spark? Because I really kind of feel like the Phillies' biggest thing is that they feel very complacent, the players and the coaches, that there's no pressure of losing their spot in the organization. Is there any kind of spark move you could see them making that might change how they play, which would then change the way we feel about this team going forward?
I mean, it's a good question. It's a fair question. You're not going to like my answer. At this point, is there a spark, like a singular spark that they can add to the team? No, I don't think that there's a realistic, because what would you target to say, like, hey, this is the position we need to go after? Is it a corner outfielder? Is it a center fielder? And if so, what are you giving up to get that guy? I mean, if you're going to get a spark and a meaningful player in one of those positions, you're giving up part of the farm you don't want to give up in reality. I think the biggest thing that will help this team, unfortunately, right, wrong, or indifferent, Bryce has to get healthy. Bryce has to swing the way that we're used to Bryce swinging, whether it's his elbow, whether it's his wrist, whatever's affecting his swing. He hasn't been right this year, and we've seen it for most of the year, and we're all kind of waiting for that guy to unleash. When Bryce Harper's playing the way that he did his MVP season and the way we've seen over the years in Philadelphia, they're a different ball club, right? We know that. But he hasn't been right this year, and it's trickled down. So if you're going to get a spark, it's get Bryce healthy, and the rest of the guys kind of get in line. Let's get the Schwarber, the June Schwarber. That'll help too, and at least in the meantime. But to answer your question, no, I don't think that there's any one player or spark that could come in and drastically change this team. You're right. I don't think they're going to let Thompson go. So I don't think that's even.
I mean, I don't blame Rob Thompson for some of these team struggles.
But you should. You should.
I do. But also, I kind of feel bad for him. Like last night, what's he going to do when Mick Abel only gets through 4 and your options are Banks, Walker? Like, that's not his fault. You know, that's all he's got. And I'm perfectly fine with firing Rob Thompson. Like, it wouldn't, like, him staying isn't going to be the difference of us making or not making the World Series. So why not try something drastic? Because, yeah, it's not always, grass isn't always greener on the other side, but why stay the same? If the results are always going to be the same, maybe firing Rob Thompson tells the boys in the locker room, look, our best buddy, he wasn't safe anymore. Maybe we're not safe anymore. Maybe we've got to put a little extra effort in. So I'm okay with it. And I think it would actually help. But we know they're not going to do it.
Yeah, that's a tough conversation. And it's one that's challenging to talk about, to be honest, because I look at Rob Thompson, and first and foremost, I like Rob Thompson. Yeah. I like him. Me personally, right? I do like the idea of a player's coach, right? Mm-hmm. That the door's open. I mean, it worked in Philadelphia with the Eagles and Nick Sirianni. Players come in, hey, this is what we see.
Charlie Manuel.
Well, so that's where I was going to go, right?
Yeah.
If you remember, but I'm just prefacing this whole thing with, I'm not calling for anyone's job. I'm just genuinely not. I don't like doing that stuff. It's fine. I like Rob Thompson. I get challenged with some of the decisions he makes or doesn't make. I get challenged with some of his loyalty to certain players that clearly aren't cutting it and how it affects this team. We've seen it over the years, whether it be with Kimbrel or Rojas or whatever those situations are. But I also am old enough to remember the way we talked about Charlie Manuel before he won a World Series. Mm-hmm. And that team, he was a player's coach. But we thought, I mean, this guy doesn't know how to manage. He can't manage a roster. He doesn't know how to manage a double switch. There was legitimate critiques that we had, and all the guy did was win. And then he wins a World Series, and now we revere him in Philadelphia. He's that guy who's one of the greatest managers ever in Phillies history. So there's a lot of similarities in terms of we're questioning a really good manager. Mm-hmm. Maybe he doesn't make some of the best decisions, but the players love him. In theory, they play for him. Can he win a World Series? And the entire narrative then switches on who Rob Thompson was as a Phillies manager. Now, that's up to him. They've got to get it done. I caution myself because I just remember a lot of the similar conversations about Charlie Manuel and now how we feel about him today. If we would have acted on some of the conversations we had about Charlie Manuel back then, mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's just, we got to
kind of feel, at least my memory of Charlie Manuel, a little different. And you brought in Nick Sirianni being a player's coach too. We don't know what Rob Thompson's like behind closed doors. He might be a totally different person in that locker room when reporters and nobody else is in there. But I remember Charlie Manuel benching Jimmy Rollins at times when he wouldn't give 110%. We've seen Nick Sirianni, even though he's a player's coach, get in players' faces when they're not living up to the expectations set forward. Mm-hmm. Rob Thompson, he just doesn't, I don't know. He doesn't give me that, feeling that he's not doing it publicly like Nick Sirianni. He's not benching anybody when they don't hustle. So maybe he does it behind closed doors, but it doesn't seem like he does. And you could be a player's manager, but still hold your employees accountable.
And that's the part I wish he did. Because earlier I was saying, hey, I like a player's manager, but I'm old. Right. So when I was playing, like you hold guys accountable. There's a standard that you hold your guys to. And I'm big on accountability. Not that I need him to float that out to me, not that I need him to float it out to you or in press conferences and float it out to I don't need that. But behind closed doors, what do you do? And I mean, constantly you're always hearing these questions of, well, what's your opinion on how the guys are swinging, or your hitting coach? And he's always raving. And I think that's the thing that lights my hair on fire. Is there's no way. I get it. You don't want to blast your guys in public, but Rob, you're smart, bro. You have seen more baseball in your left pinky than I've seen my entire life. I know you see what we see. So can you at least just acknowledge that you see what we see and it's a problem and we got to get it corrected versus just sweeping everything under the rug? I think that's what frustrates me the most, to your point, right? And
him saying Kevin Long's the best hitting coach in baseball,
and maybe he is.
I talk about optics in sports all the time. The optics are just not great when you say that. Just don't say anything then in that case.
Right, Phil, maybe he is. Maybe he is the best hitting coach, again, because these guys know things that we don't know. They're privy to information in the day-to-day life that we are not. So maybe he is. But when they're swinging the way that they're swinging, when collectively as a team, they're hitting worse than the major league average. I mean, you go through, just look at how this is an average hitting baseball team at best right now. And you're telling me your hitting coach is the best in baseball? It just doesn't add up, which just causes everyone to be frustrated. Just be real with me, Rob. That's all.
I kind of go back to before Bryce Harper got hurt, but obviously he's been injured and banged up now all season. We're just learning more about it as as the weeks go on. Jimmy Rollins wouldn't run out a ground ball occasionally, and he'd get benched for it when he didn't give hustle. Imagine if this team has that complacency that we feel like it might have. Why couldn't Rob Thompson just say, "Yo, Bryce Harper didn't run it out. You're out of the game," and that would have just that one moment would have sent a message to the rest of the locker room, like, "Look, we haven't accomplished anything yet. We didn't win the Super Bowl like the Eagles. We haven't done it. Just sit him down." And it would have given his injured wrist a little bit of a break anyway. But instead, we get Rob Thompson saying things like, "Well, we'll talk about it later in the back," and that just doesn't give the fans the appearance that there's any I don't know what the word I'm looking for there is, but you know what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah,
there. I know you can't bench Bryce Harper, very often when he's your best player, but a message sometimes is bigger than one game in baseball.
Yeah, I think you also have to pick and choose who you send that message to. When Charlie did it, I forget how old Jimmy was when Charlie did it.
It was like 2006, 2007. So they hadn't gotten to the World Series yet.
Right. And Jimmy was
early stages.
Yeah, Jimmy was he wasn't young, but he's still relatively young, if I remember
that. It was right around his MVP year, maybe the year before his MVP year.
A year before, I want to say it was. Because I think that's when he said they were the team to beat. But at any rate, you got to pick and choose who you're targeting. Do you want to target a Bryce Harper, an MVP, a guy who's been in the league for over a decade? That's where you're going to get it. You may run the risk of ruffling the wrong feathers. I don't know. Yeah. You're right. You got to do it.
Not ruffling the feathers isn't helping. So
you're not
got to change.
And this is kind of what I say when it's more intricate sometimes than what we have visibility to, right? There's decisions they have to make. Because you're right. Not ruffling the feathers isn't changing anything, but that's a decision Rob has to make. And the fallout is what Rob has to live with, because it can go one way. Yeah, it may work, but then it could also have some really negative impacts in the clubhouse. And it's decisions that on a day-to-day Rob has to make that we don't have to worry about. We just get to sit here and hop on a podcast and blast him and talk, from our comfy couches, what we would do in that situation. So everything that I say it with this idea that, look, I don't know what this guy's dealing with. I don't know what he's like behind the scenes in the clubhouse. I don't know what his interaction is or what he's asking of these players. I'm only speaking from the comfort of this chair on this podcast about what the optics are to me.
So we're just guys. We have regular jobs.
Yeah.
We're nothing special here. I always say I'm just an idiot that has no life that talks a lot for fun.
Same.
That's all I am. All right, let's transition. Let's not be so negative for just a few minutes. We're talking with Jason Ashworth here. Great podcast you do. I love it. I can't wait till you guys get, it's been like 2 weeks since your last episode, the Cheap Seats. I love listening to you guys. Before we even talk Eagles, I got to ask you a question in case we run out of time.
Yeah.
Who came up with the idea of putting you, EROCK, and Black Gritty together on screen? Because that is a very unique, but very entertaining, three guys on a camera, talking sports.
It wasn't me. It was actually, I got approached by EROCK. And I've known E for dating back to like 2010. So I've known him for 15 years, and we've done podcasts together. He is a phenomenal human being. So I've always been close to him, and we've always wanted to collaborate and just do some work together. He called me up, said, "Hey, I got an idea." Obviously, Gritty, he knows a lot of people at PHY. Everyone in Philly knows him from kind of his spots on WIP. So it just kind of found itself. Luckily, I got pulled into the trio. And I just get to
you backdoored your way into success right there.
Yeah, they just let me yap, dude. So again, I'm just the idiot with a microphone that loves to talk.
I love it. I think it's a great show. I mean, I can't say I listen to all their shows all the time. I mean, I only got so much free time.
No doubt.
But I love listening to the three of you guys talk.
I appreciate it.
But anyway, the Eagles had their mandatory, training camp. And right before you joined the show, I said something, and it's been in the back of my mind. It's so refreshing going into an Eagles season, not just with no drama, but actually knowing that our team is capable. It's not, well, maybe they could do it. No, we know Nick Sirianni can do it. We now know Jalen Hurts can do it. There's no drama. We know they could do it. This is the most stress-free, even more stress-free than after the 2017 Super Bowl. It's so comforting right now being an Eagles fan, isn't it?
It is, because they're built that way, right? Like, we know, obviously they've lost some players, so they're going to have to replace some guys, but we know that roster, to your point, is capable. They're still pretty loaded in some pretty pivotal positions. The first and foremost, you've got a quarterback. And when you've got a quarterback, you've got a chance. And I think it goes both ways. It cuts both ways, because when we're living stress-free, Philadelphia doesn't live stress-free for long. Right. We're living stress-free right now because we're still riding that championship. We're going to drop that banner on week 1. But then the expectation should be to repeat.
Absolutely.
And the stress won't start to hit until we start to see kind of little hiccups in the road, which we're going to see. It happens any NFL season. I don't care whether you're the Patriots or the Chiefs or the Eagles trying to create something. You're going to see hiccups along the road. But yeah, man, it is a stress-free time right now.
There's going to be that stress.
Yeah.
But at least it's not like when you talk about the Phillies, but they've got talent. They'll be fine. They're going to win. We have people that come in the comments all the time in the morning, Phillies are going to win the World Series. There's no proof to say that. The hiccups, I think this season, I know a lot of people think the Eagles' schedule isn't difficult. I think the Eagles have an extremely difficult schedule.
Sure.
I see so many people predicting 13, 14 wins. I'm like, it's going to be a tough schedule. It's going to be an extremely tough season for the Eagles, especially replacing all the players on defense. You got a new offensive coordinator. But we know as long as they get to the playoffs, this team is capable. And that's when I say stress-free. It's like, I know there's going to be bumps in the road. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be whatever it is. But we have actual evidence to back us up saying that they can get it done.
Well, that's the big thing, injuries. And, I don't mean to point anything out, but the Eagles have done a really good job over the last few years. Whatever their conditioning program is, whatever, knock on wood, luck that they've been rolling with, they've done a good job at avoiding critical injuries. Because we all know once you get to the postseason, it's all who's healthy, right? Make sure you can get to the postseason, get out of training camp and the preseason healthy to start the season. And then who can stay the healthiest for the longest? And the Eagles in 2022 did a phenomenal job of it. In 2024 did a phenomenal job of it. So we'll see how they do in 2025. But yeah, I agree. It's a tough schedule. I think if I read that correctly, they don't have back-to-back home games.
They do not have back-to-back home games at all this year.
So,
and they close with 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 4 on the road.
Right. And
they back-to-back road games multiple times.
Yeah, they come out like gangbusters to start the season too. I think it's Dallas, KC, the Rams. So they
Denver.
got to work.
I would not be shocked if they're 2-3 or 3-2 out of the gate. And that's not going to change my opinions that they can repeat. It's just knowing their first 5 games are very tough and their last 4 or 5 are very tough. It's the middle where they could build their cushion. And we have that expectation for them to repeat. But if they are going to repeat, how are they going to do it?
So
outside of staying healthy.
Yeah,
is it going to be more? Because I kind of feel like it's going to be more on Jalen Hurts' shoulders than last year. I kind of feel like I predicted. I don't know if you're a gambler or not. I'm a degenerate gambler.
Are you?
17-1.
I work too hard for my money.
Jalen Hurts. I just donated my money instantly to that bet.
Yeah, right.
Because I kind of feel like he's going to have to play at an MVP level. A, because of Saquon Barkley, what he's
Mhm.
going to be like this year. B, because of the tougher schedule. And there's going to be a target on this team. So I kind of feel like he's the key, which sounds very cliche. Your quarterback's the key, but
Yeah.
kind of feel like it's a valid argument.
So here's the deal, because I hear a lot of people saying that they're going to open up the offense and they're going to kind of ride Jalen's arm more than they have in years past, and maybe they will.
Mhm.
Who knows? But I remember we had the same thoughts last year when Kellen Moore was the OC, and well, Kellen likes to throw the football. He ain't going to pound the rock as much as maybe we would think with Saquon Barkley. And maybe that's defenses are obviously gearing up to stop Saquon Barkley. They have a year tape of what the Eagles like to do on offense. And we all know once a DC gets tape on you, and then once the entire league gets tape on you, like, all right, now you got to react. It's your chess move now. But I don't think that it's going to be some completely different offense where now Jalen's throwing 30 times a game and he's some different. I love Jalen Hurts. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks overall in the league. Now, I'm not saying he's the most gifted with his arm. I'm just saying overall, from a skill set, from a leadership perspective, from a demeanor perspective, the guy that you want in your huddle. I love Jalen Hurts. But I would be lying to myself if I thought they're going to just, hey, what worked last year, records we set last year, let's abandon that and let's try to switch this up and put this all on Jalen Hurts. I think we're still going to see a heavy dose of Saquon Barkley behind the best offensive line in the league, where they kind of still ground and pound, but then leverage Jalen.
I agree. I think Saquon said yesterday when he spoke to the media that he would like to be the first running back to go back-to-back 2K yards or whatever he said exactly.
Yeah.
And I expect them to give the ball to Saquon, but they're going to have to. I can't see him getting 2,000 yards 2 years in a row. I don't even know if I can see him getting 1,800. So say he gets 1,500, 1,600 yards. That's 400 or 500 yards of offense you got to find somewhere else. And that doesn't sound like a lot,
right?
But it is.
I mean, is it? Is it though? I mean, 400 or 500 yards over 17 games. I mean,
40, 50 more yards a game.
2 more completions a game. So if that's what we mean, like 2 more meaningful completions a game, if that's what we mean by, hey, putting that burden on Jalen, then I agree. But I don't think that you're going to see Jalen throw for 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns.
You'll never see that.
Right. That's what I mean. So within reason, yes, I think that they can put more ownership on Jalen. Look, he still needs to figure out, him and Patullo need to figure out what that ebb and flow looks like, what that relationship's going to look like. I love the fact that he's been in the building, but there's still going to be nuance to what they do together. So while they figure that out, Phil, I think they go to their bread and butter, especially early in the season. Let's lean on a run game. Let's get into our rhythm and find out how we can expand the offense from there.
Absolutely. All right. So when a guest is on for the first time on Trending in the AM, there is a required question, and your answer later on will be determined by the chat whether you're allowed to ever come on again. Okay. It's a movie question. All right. Everybody's got to answer this question.
Okay.
And I hope you're smart enough to not answer I've never seen it, okay? Or either. You have to watch one movie and only one movie for the rest of your life, and it has to be either Goodfellas or Godfather. What is your answer and why?
Goodfellas. I'm not a big Godfather guy. I'm
you
not.
Have watched it, right?
Yeah.
3 of the last 4 guests have said they've never watched The Godfather before, and I was just like,
No, I've watched it, but I mean, Goodfellas to me is that there's a handful of movies for me. I thought you were just going to ask me what my favorite movie of all time was, because I was going to go with Christmas Vacation. Don't judge me for it. But if you're talking about just those two, like Goodfellas is one of those movies that when it's on, I don't care what part of the movie it is. I don't care. It stays on, right? Shawshank Redemption's another one. Top Gun's another. Like there's certain movies for me where I know you don't like Top Gun. That's fine. That's fine. I love it. I'm a big Pete Mitchell guy. When it's on, it's on. For me anyway. So I stick with that. I would tell you that it's Goodfellas all day over that, but that's just my personal opinion.
I mean, we've already got positive answers coming in on you. They like to hear the answer Goodfellas over Godfather. So
is that right?
You're allowed to come back again.
Okay. All right, fair enough. So I'm not alone.
Yeah. You're going to get the love, not on your Phillies opinions, not on your Eagles opinions.
No.
You're going to get the love in the chat because you chose Goodfellas. Like you said, I mean, as an Italian American, as a guy that, not many generations of my family have lived in this country, the scene when they walk in the back of the restaurant at the beginning, it's like as Italian as it gets. Going through that kitchen in that restaurant, I just love it. it's probably the most rewatchable movie, right, with Shawshank Redemption out there.
Yeah, there's a handful. Again, there's a handful.
Yeah.
We all have our quirks, and there's all the different movies that when it comes, and Jenny hates it because I'm the one that I don't know how you can watch movies like that. I just, when it's on, I don't care where it is. Babe, we're watching the rest of it. It is what it is.
My wife says the same thing, but then if Dirty Dancing is on, she makes me watch that no matter where it's at, and doesn't say anything about that. You know, it's like, hold on, I can't watch Goodfellas 400 times, but you can watch Dirty Dancing 500 times. Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
If you want a Patrick Swayze movie, you give me Roadhouse. That's another one that'll stay on the entire time. I don't care where it is. I'm watching it.
I love it. All right. Well, Jason, thank you very much for your time this morning. Can't wait for the next episode of the Cheap Seats to come on out.
I appreciate you, brother. Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Bye,
guys. That was Jason Ashworth right there on the I Am News sponsor hotline. Guys, if you haven't already, like, share, subscribe, vote on the poll. Will Alex Hunt lead the Eagles in sacks this year? We've got a few votes over there. Make sure you keep pumping them up. Lots of great content there from Jason. We're going to roll on here. It's the top of the hour here, trending in the AM. Got about 30 minutes left in the show. Yes, U.S. Open starts tomorrow. K1, I saw your U.S. Open. I will tell you, I made a bold prediction last night on trending or Fairway to Heaven. Scotty Scheffler missing the cut at the U.S. Open. Bold prediction right there. Had to pull out my notes from last night. Shawshank Redemption, replacements. Oh, you can't ever forget about the replacements. And most 90s rom-coms, got to watch them when they're on. Absolutely. Yes, we reached 535 last night. That was a Fairway to Heaven. Gave us a couple boosts there. So, yes, there we go. My grandmother hate all mob movies because it I don't know. I don't think I ever watched a mob movie with my grandma. I don't think I did. And my grandfather passed away before I was born on my Italian side. So I don't think I ever watched one with my mom either. So I can't even answer. I'm not sure how I'd even answer that right there, Nooms. Jason reminds you of Travis Kelce. Really? Interesting. That's an interesting one right there. I don't know about that. But yeah, so let's recap where we've been here. Eagles, training camp, OTAs, Jalen Hunt, very impressive. Jalen Hurts, very impressive. Phillies lose last night, have a 1:30 game today with Jesus Luzardo. Will Luzardo turn things around? And I want to throw another thing into the equation because we always talk about the coaches, the players, and the teams. But we don't talk about the owners enough unless it's Josh Harris. I'm not sure if you guys saw this yesterday, but there was news that came out yesterday morning that Jeffrey Lurie made a $50 million donation to start the Lurie Autism Institute, partnering with Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and Penn Medicine. The largest single donation for autism research ever in the U.S. Aim is to build a global lab for research for autism. The guy just donated $50 million to start an autism research facility. I don't think we give enough credit to Jeffrey Lurie and how amazing of an owner he is. It's not just that he builds consistent winners. It's not that he gives the tools to his employees, Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni, etc., to succeed. He also is an amazing philanthropist. The guy is constantly doing so much good for so many charities and so many different people out there. I don't think when I make the comment that he's the best owner in sports, I don't just throw that around lightly. I really truly think he is. And I think it's very special and very, very, very deserves a lot more press and recognition for what he's done and what he did yesterday. I think it deserves more credit than what he's going to get for it. You need to open that guy's mind up to the world of gambling degeneracy. Well, that's me. I'm the degenerate. Just how he talks. Okay, gotcha. I expect a comeback from Luzardo, just not tonight. Look, I think people need to understand Jesus Luzardo, and I still haven't done it, looked at his splits overall over his career. But Luzardo's a good pitcher. He's not a Cy Young all-star pitcher. He's a good pitcher. He was never going to pitch to a 1.8, 2.1 ERA all season. If he had a great season, by his standards, it was going to be a 3.5, 3.7 ERA guy. He's a guy that's going to finish every year between 3.5 and 4.5 in ERA. And that's perfectly fine if your offense is hitting and if your bullpen can hold leads. But to expect him to pitch to a 1.8, but what was his ERA before his last two starts? Like 1.88? It's just not going to happen. Eric says, Dirty Dancing is the rom-com version of Roadhouse. I guess. It's overrated. Saw that article on Jeffrey Lurie, too. It's an amazing thing. What he's done. And look, I mean, he's a billionaire. But $50 million is $50 million. It's not necessary to do that. And he chose to do that. I think generally, it's the largest single donation ever for autism research. But it might be up there in top donations ever for research, for medical research, from a sports owner. It's a very, very special thing. I work with a Cubs fan. The crap we got on our morning call today was embarrassing. Well, did you give him crap the morning before when we won a game? I mean, that would be the fair thing. I don't have faith that the Phillies win the game tonight. The Cubs are a better team than the Phillies. All you have to do is live the life of the unfortunate classes for a week, and if it doesn't motivate you to help people, if you have the resources, you could be a sociopath. Yeah, I mean, I get it. And he's got the resources to help. And I went and I did some research. I'm like, kind of like, I was just curious of the background. And I couldn't find any, his family has done a lot for autism research dating back to, I think I read to his grandmother was one of the first people to start making donations and helping autism research. But I couldn't find any information that it's like, they're like, people donate to cancer research because they've been affected by cancer in their life or their family. They donate to this or that because it's directly affected them. It's not like he's got a brother or a father or an uncle that was autistic. Like he just very firmly believes in helping the research there. So I think it's a great thing. And I think he's the greatest owner in sports right now. I work with almost all Cubs fans. That's got to be brutal. Some White Sox fans. Yeah, I don't know too many Cubs fans or White Sox fans. Usually we have the Cubs number. Chat, what's up? Press Box Radio tonight, 7 p.m. Mr. Chet and Bill Furman, they got a great guest right here on the STT Sports Network tonight. Live, 7 o'clock. Their guest, 7:05. I'm going to give you a hint on who Chet's guest is this evening. He's really cool. He owns a pizza shop, and he's got the best beard in Philly. I don't know. Maybe that can set you guys up for who's going to be live tonight from the pizza shop, from Fox's Pizza, with Bill Furman and Chet. That'd be me. I'll be on with the boys tonight. I'll get to be Mr. Negative Nancy about the Phillies tonight. Maybe I'll say a bad word or two. I don't know. We'll see. I'll be at the pizza shop. It's called a tease. I teased it, and then I dropped the answer right away from the tease. Because why not? But why wait on that right there, right? Guys, there's 15 people watching this video right now. There's only 13 votes on the poll and only 13 likes on the video. Please like, please share, please subscribe. Tomorrow on the show, we're going to be watching the U.S. Open live. How to have a slight edit. I said we had Ed Kratz from Sports Illustrated coming on tomorrow. He had to postpone. He'll be on Friday morning, Ed Kratz. We'll do a football Friday while we're watching the U.S. Open. We'll have Ed Kratz on Friday talking Eagles and giving his firsthand account of training camp today or yesterday. That can only be one cool guy. Phil, point him out with two thumbs. There you go, Eric. There's the two thumb point right there. To be fair, we couldn't beat the Cubs or Rangers in 22. But still gonna figure a way. That's true. Is it really? When you talk about the Phillies, and I know we don't want to talk to Phillies because they're depressing. Is it World Series or bust? Not win. Just to get there. If there isn't a World Series appearance from the Phillies, drastic changes absolutely have to happen, right? Rob Thompson has to be fired. Dave Dombrowski has to be fired, right? Is it necessary to make the World Series? To keep things, the status quo, the same? Can't wait. Yeah, he had a dog grooming appointment mishap, so, you got to push it off, because we always got to take care of the dogs. But that just gives us more time to watch the U.S. Open round 1 tomorrow, Adam, live on the show. Who is a cool guy with 10 thumbs? Whatever it is. I just had an opportunity to go Rob Van Dam. But yeah, is it World Series or bust? World Series appearance or bust? Like the Eagles, we have expectations for them to get back to the Super Bowl. We think they can get back to the Super Bowl. We think they can win another Super Bowl. We know they can. But if they fall short, actually, probably some of the Eagles fans will be calling to trade Jalen Hurts to fire next year, probably. But we know that they're not going to. And there's expectations, but if the expectations aren't reached, it's not the end of the world. The Phillies, what's the minimum expectations? Now seeing how frustrated we are. Dahlgren and his scheduling mishap. Misscheduled, so he thought he had a dog groomer appointment scheduled for one day. Turns out it was Thursday, just so you know. VCP. That's right. I did have a VCP mishap with Jason, our guest there. Nobody called me out in the chat about it, so glad nobody called out the VCP that happened during that interview right there. What is everyone's favorite Titan moment ever? I don't even know what that is off the top of my head. Explain that. But guys, we'll talk more training camp tomorrow and on Friday with Ed Kratz. But it was really interesting, some things. And we mentioned Alex Hunt, how effective he was. Keely Ringo seems to be leading the way and grabbing that cornerback 2 position from everybody else. Sidney Brown, not Andrew Makuba, was playing a safety, starting safety. And John Campbell run drills. Very effective. Very good. This shows, I've never heard anybody. Never heard anybody call it Titan before. I've never even noticed it. Is that being said deliberate? Are you being deliberate with that calling me obtuse thing? I mean, it sounds deliberate. Okay, if we win 2 Super Bowls, I'm a row. Does it start a 2 Super Bowls in a row? Does it start a dynasty? Maybe. I'm sorry. If we went back to it started a dynasty. I did a translation and figured it out. What you meant there. Ringo is a beast without pads. That's not good. He's got to be a beast with pads on as well. Phil, you don't know your own show name, and it should be pronounced Tit-Am? Okay, gotcha. No, I don't know the show name of my own show. My apologies. I don't know the name of my own show. I apologize greatly for that. I should do better. My apologies. Hooked on, yeah. I think that's the second Hooked on Phonics reference in like 4 or 5 days. Who would have thought? Who remembers the Hooked on Phonics radio spots? Hooked on Phonics worked for me. Look, stop. That title miss on my part, that made all your guys' day, right? I'm so happy. Me not knowing what title means entertains you psychos so much. So glad. It's exactly what I try to do on a daily basis is entertain you guys with my dumbness. I'm not a smart guy. I'm just an idiot that talks a lot. It would be very disappointing to a lot of people, though. You are easily amused. You of all people, K1, are so easily amused. It's like K1 sits in his little hole in the wall and he's like, what can I make fun of Phil next for saying? No, I'm not mispronouncing it. I'm not saying it the way you want. Oh, Mitchie Poo's here. He knows how to pronounce it, right? 14 likes. Not good enough. Not good enough. We are at 535 subscribers. We did gain 3 last night. When am I going to reveal my quarterback top 5 list? I don't know. I was thinking of doing a show Thursday night, maybe. But then I'm like, nah. Friday night, nah. Maybe this weekend. I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll see when I reveal my top 5. I didn't start the fire. Nice. All right, Billy. Mitch is like the lycometer. Hey, good for him. He's the lycometer, and the max on the lycometer is 69, right? They're his two go-tos right there. Mitchie Poo is a two-trick pony, basically. When are we getting the top 5, and why are you wrong about Josh Allen being number 1? Well, hey, I'll give you a tease. Josh Allen is not number 1 on my quarterback list. By the way, Chris Sims has Jalen Hurts at 10 on his list, with Baker Mayfield ahead of him. Chris Sims, again, doing whatever he can to insult Jalen Hurts. I will do my list when I damn well please. When I damn well please. And I'm just not sure when that's going to be. And really, it's a time thing. I don't know when I'm going to have time to do an extra show. Maybe we'll save it for a morning show. Maybe it'll be Monday morning show. Maybe, if I don't have a title for the show. Mitch wants 5. Yeah, so he's got 34 to go for that. I'll reveal my top 5 list if we get 34 more subscribers today. I'll do it tomorrow. Chris Simp will be wrong again this season. He's always wrong. I do highly recommend a Reading Phillies game while Anthony and DeMartini are there. I haven't been to a Reading baseball game in ages, probably 2 decades. But it was always so fun to go to Reading Phillies games when I was younger. Cheap, great experience, great baseball, cool little stadium. I don't know if they have a new stadium or whatnot from the last time I went, but always a good time. Good time to see the future today, for sure. I know. But if you were listening to Fairway to Heaven tomorrow, last night, it's tough to do a live stream on the U.S. Open on Sunday. What is Sunday, K1? It's Father's Day. Steven's a dad. Jason's a dad. I'm a dog dad. Giving you 5-6 hours on Sunday, on Father's Day, from like 12 or 1 o'clock to like 6 o'clock at night. That's the whole day. I don't know. We might do it, even for a few hours, but I'm not sure. We're gonna think about it. We're gonna think about it. I went to more River Shark games and Reading Phillies games. Never been to a River Shark. I've never been to their stadium. We've delivered to the visiting locker room a few times, but that's about it. I've been to the Lancaster Barnstormers game before. Didn't even know there was a team in Lancaster. Who are they an affiliate of? Had no clue. I mean, that's not even far from Kennett, Lancaster. Had no clue on that one. You learn something new every day. That's what you do. But I would love to go U.S. Open live, but we'll see. We'll be live for the U.S. Open tomorrow morning. We'll be live for the U.S. Open on Friday morning. It'll be mostly me overreacting to round 1 and round 2 shots. We'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, final 10 minutes of the show. Will the Phillies win tonight? Today, not tonight. 1:30 game against the Cubs. Jesus Luzardo versus Ben Brown. It's a name right there. Ben Brown. It's an indie team in Lancaster. Had no clue. Like I said, I didn't even know they had a team. Can the Phillies get the win today and win this series? Unfortunately, I feel that's a no. No, I think Luzardo will pitch better today. Not lights out, but better. The question will be, can the offense put up enough runs to win? And for the Phillies to win tonight, I think they need 8 runs. Can they get 8 runs? I don't know. I think the Cubs, it's a 7-4 Cubs win is what I'm predicting right now. Let's send a trip for the Masters next year. Are you paying for that, Adam? Because I sure shit don't got that kind of money. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, yeah. Doing Trending in the AM and Fairway to Heaven live from Augusta for the Masters would be awesome. But who'll make that kind of money? Charter a bus. That sounds really annoying. All of us on a bus together? That's probably like a 12 to 14-hour drive. Ain't happening. When I was in college in Reading, I would tell Jeff Jackson we should have drafted Frank Thomas. It's kind of out there, but okay. Should have drafted a eugenics guy. Yeah, we're not taking a bus to the Masters. Still trying to find someone to hire me to get me credentials to the PGA Championship in Aronimink next year. Oh, tickets are, it's expensive to go. I mean, you have to, first and foremost, you have to apply in the lottery to have the right to buy tickets. And tickets are actually reasonably priced. It's everything else around it that's expensive. Hotel, airfare, whatnot. I would love to go to the Masters. And I apply for my rights to buy tickets every single year. And I have been for 15, 20 years. And I've never gotten a call to buy tickets. And that's just frustrating. Just think of the hijinks, Phil, the content, the Phil Illuminati bonding. No, I don't want to think about it. I don't. I would probably cry myself to sleep. Or I'd probably drink myself into a slumber. Oh, all for the content. Yeah. I'd drink myself silly because of you guys, and then you guys would draw things on my face because I'd be passed out drunk. And that would not be great content. But for you guys, it would be, not for me. But that's it. That's all. All right, we're going to call it a show today. It's kind of a low, mellow show, but we had great content from my man, Jason Ashworth. Make sure you check him out on All City, PHLY. The cheap seats, Wednesdays normally. He hasn't had a show in 2 weeks, but great. You want more, Phil? Come by the pizza shop. Yeah, that's right. I'll be there all day today, 11 to 8 tonight. And I'll be live with Philly Press Box Radio Boys from the shop at 7:05. You can see why Aiden Miller was drafted where he was, especially with his speed. But, man, we need to get these young dudes up before these old dudes that can play all leave. What's the holdup on Aiden Miller? Why is he not getting the call yet? Is he not ready? I think even if you call him up, where do you put him? I guess you got to keep giving Otto Kemp opportunities right now. Stott, I mean, he's not an everyday player anymore, unfortunately. Bohm is, unfortunately, an everyday player. And Trey Turner, you're not going to take him out of the lineup. I don't even know if you bring up Aiden Miller where they play him at this point. I mean, you can play anybody in left field, and they can't be any worse than Marsh or Rojas or Kepler out there in the outfield. I would consider trading Aiden Miller. I would. I don't know if his value, because of his disappointing season average-wise, is as high as it once was, but I would consider trading Aiden Miller. I would. What's going to bring you back more in a return, though, in a trade, Adam? Alec Bohm or a top-tier prospect? Alec Bohm, who needs to get paid, or a young guy that hasn't fully reached his potential? I don't think Aiden Miller's 21 yet. You trade Aiden Miller. Alec Bohm, unfortunately, you're stuck with for the rest of the year. You could have traded him last offseason. You didn't. You're stuck with him. I think this was his last year of arbitration, so I think he's a free agent after the season. Great Tittum today. Make it a shirt. No. No. Not happening. Sorry. It's not happening. I'll ask on Twitter later. Do you know what Tittum is and stands for? And I expect none of you Core 12 to answer that. All right? I don't even think most of you guys are even on Twitter. I guarantee nobody knows what it is. Always keep up the grind. Always. We never stop the grind here. But shout out to Jason. Thank you very much for coming on this morning. Much appreciate his time and what he does. We're back tomorrow. U.S. Open. Did the Phillies win? And more Eagles talk for sure. I think we'll probably dive more into the Eagles and training camp stuff tomorrow while we're watching the U.S. Open. Russ, a sunshine, and a clock. You guys. Too much. Too much you guys are. But I love y'all. Guys, if you haven't already and you're watching our replay, like, share, subscribe. We're going to wrap it up. Everybody have a great Wednesday. I know I will. Tune in tonight, 7 p.m., Philly Press Box Radio. With me, joining the boys. Anyway, you guys have a great Wednesday. We'll be back tomorrow. U.S. Open. kicks off tomorrow, guys. Guys, like, share, subscribe. Let's get those 35 subscribers for Mitchy Poo today. Let's find them. Everybody have a great one. Go Birds. Bubbles up.